Let me tell you a story about hyperinflationary Romania. My father and I woke up this early morning, and he didn't say where we're gonna go. He just said we need to pick up something. And lo and behold, we went to the edge of town. And back then, Romania still had an industry, and near our town there were different factories, right? We knew this factory, that factory, and sometimes they had soccer teams, and the soccer teams would then come together in the stadium and play soccer, football we called it, right? And we knew exactly what type of factories were. People were involved in their community, kind of. The factory also had their community, they did sports, whatever. So my father worked for a different factory, but we went to a different factory this time. And we went to the sugar factory. And they were producing sugar from sugar beets. And of course, it got closed. It stayed open during hyperinflation, I believe, to some degree, but then later on closed. And it was quite interesting because we went to the edge of town where all the not quite where the factory was, but where they put all the stuff down basically to be shipped away, right? And we went there, and there was already a big line, and there was a line forming. A lot of people were there, and it was like, okay, well, I guess we're buying sugar. But I didn't know how much sugar we were buying, and it turned out like whoever kind of had two brain cells to rub together, they wanted to get rid of the cash because cash was hyperinflating, right? And we went there, and even I remember this clearly. The Romanian person who was actually loading the pallets full of sugar, and he was saying, yeah, people are crazy, they're buying all this sugar, but the sugar price will go down, it fluctuates all the time. And he was like happily packing everything, and that was the main guy. There were many people there, and trucks, and big trucks, uh, and they were packing it. And people were like, you would see grandmothers there and packing. Basically, by sugar, I mean these paper packages of sugar, what you would normally buy in the store now. Maybe rough a little bit, right? It wouldn't look as nice as you would have them now, but that was basically it. And we bought so much sugar, my father and I, that it was amazing, because it later turned out that he was thinking to use this as a hedge against the currency, because we knew that we consumed some sugar, right? And sugar will be sugar next year, and sugar will be sugar the year after, and the year after, and the year after, if you store it correctly, right? And it would be much better to have physical items, or in this case sugar, than holding on for currency for too long. And we bought a couple of pallets, and we still have some of that sugar. We still have some of that sugar in the storage place, and we never consumed it all, but we were able to trade it later on. And for the person who sticked to currency and kind of like was selling sugar happily, I don't know what he did later on, but I'm pretty sure if he kept currency, that fiat currency, that went away pretty fast within 1 or 2 years. The value got diminished so much that it wasn't worth anything. But at least we have sugar, and we still have some sugar, some of that sugar, because it turns out we don't consume that much sugar. And I honestly, I try not to consume that much sugar. But we were able to trade that with my aunt, with my cousins, and even some neighbors, some of that. And yeah, maybe if I'm there, I'll probably show you the package, because we still have some. But tricks like these kind of made me realize that my father was thinking on another level, right? He lived through hyperinflation before, and he knew that everything, they lost everything. My father's father, who was a farmer and owned a lot of land, turned out when political changes happen, also with economic shifts, nobody's safe. right? Because if you own land, that's great because it's something that you can produce something, as long as the political shift doesn't happen so suddenly that some kind of far, you name it, left or right movement takes everything away from you. Because you really don't have the land, you kind of have a claim for that land, because it's not really yours, it's really who you pay taxes to. And go down that rabbit hole where your tax dollars go, because you'll find out it's not really where you think it's going, especially with property taxes. At least that's the case in Europe. You'll find out how deep the rabbit hole goes. But some physical items you can own outright, right? And that's yours as long as you can keep it in a safe place and you can defend it. Then it's at least yours. And ideally, if you pay cash with it, then you're the only one who knows about it. So thinking back, that was a really smart decision. While we never used up all the sugar, and we have more sugar than we ever think what to do with, it was way better than keeping cash or currency. And I'm telling you this story because sometimes you'll see the very person who is selling you the physical item is not in the knowledge of what's happening. And this is sort of somewhat a reply to a comment that I got on the video, where George Gammon is going to Argentina and people are not taking silver, gold as payment. They want cash, right? And they're not really taking, barely, some may take Bitcoin Cash or something like that, but people are in the false premise of things will go as they have always gone, and that always is usually the last 5 to 20 years. People forget. In 25 years, people will totally forget what they went through. For some reason, some humans totally forget the lessons that they should have learned the last time, and they will stick to it until the last moment, right? Even the person who was there and could have bought all the sugar in the world from that factory was happily selling it because he was thinking he was getting a good price on it, right? And people who stood in line knew that there's no stop. They did not believe the government, they did not believe the media of what's happening, and they know that at least sugar will be sugar and it's easy to store. I'm not saying you should buy sugar. I'm saying that you will come across people who should know better and they don't. Don't let them kind of pull you off the track. Because if you know and you have studied the monetary systems and the history of monetary systems, you already know the outcome. And all you need to do is stay course and be ready. And that's about all. So, kind of interesting story. There's more stories like this with other elements, right, and other physical items, but the sugar one really kind of stuck with me. And you really got to learn something from these stories, right? So thank you for supporting the channel, and I hope you hopefully bring more stories to you. But don't get discouraged by people who should know better, because it's cognitive bias. It's people thinking that I will take whatever's working right now over the direction or the course of what's going to happen 2 years, 3 years from now. And it's very hard to wake people up. You can do your best, but don't overdo it to the point that they start hating you. Just know what you're doing and hopefully inspire others to do the same. Thank you for supporting the channel through Buy Me a Coffee and through Patreon, and for the cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin Cash and the Pirate Chain that you guys have been donating. So that keeps the channel alive. Alright, talk to you next time.